Hi everybody, so as Kate said, my name is Sarah Crissinger, and today I'm just going to be talking to you a little bit about my experience doing a practicum at GSLIS last fall. And my hope is to share what I learned, but also how it changed my professional practice and the way I see the academic library, which is what I'm interested in professionally. Go to the next slide. So the first thing that I should do is sort of note the intention of this presentation. In academia, our goal is often to make our case study or our empirical research or other forms of scholarship generalizable. In fact, that's the point, right? So that others can use our work wherever they're working. While I think that this is really important, I also think that there's some value in reflecting. So while I hope this presentation and the resources I share are applicable to others and the practice that they'll have, I also want to be clear that I'm using this space to reflect on my own learning, hence the my in my title, which is a little abnormal. And my hope is that by writing about this, talking about it, discussing it with others, getting some pushback, I'm able to continue to learn about the nuances of my experience and challenge the preconceived notions that I had and still have before doing the practicum. So a little bit about the practicum. Kate and Melinda, who many of you might know, they're GSLIS alum, go GSLIS. They were the UX team, the entire UX team at Pixo at the time that I completed the 100 hours there. And so I should say that they're currently only taking one practicum student per year, so I didn't get an overflow. They've been clear about that just because of the work that they're doing. But so I just want to explain a little bit about the work that I did there. So this model was all about mentorship. It was all about constructivism. It was all about active learning, which I really appreciated. It wasn't about them feeding me information and me just digesting that information based on what they said and taking that as truth. So a couple things that I did is I often shadowed their meetings, their workflow, their leadership roles, how they did teamwork, how they communicated with each other. And this has been invaluable to me as I've taken notes on committee meetings here at the university library. So it's really helped inform sort of how I want to lead and how I want to communicate with others. I also did a project where I was responsible for sort of teaching myself and also teaching them about analytics and writing a report about how it applies to Pixo's business model and how they could use analytics as an assessment tool for their clients. And then I talked to them about my experience in the academic library and also how the tools and tips that they gave me applied to that or didn't apply to that, and we had a lot of conversation based on that. And then finally, I think the best way to learn is to teach others, and so they gave me an opportunity to do exactly that, and I helped them with a pop-up usability lab, which was an informal space where we taught others in the community how to do usability testing. Okay, so what does this have to do with the academic library? You might be thinking there's sort of a divide here. Something that I've started to realize and that I would continue to argue today is that academic libraries and all libraries have always cared about the user's experience and making sure that community is present and that obstacles and barriers to information are shut down. That's the essence of what we do. It's something we care about, and that's sort of what I think the essence of user experience is. I would also argue that the academic library has done this most recently, but also in the last decade or so through different means. So some examples are the gateway that we have here at Illinois was actually helped generated through user stories, which are more simplified versions of personas. There's someone named Andrew Asher who does some things that Chris was sort of talking about with ethnography and the academic library. And then also libraries around the nation, as they're implementing LibGuides 2.0, they're doing usability studies to see what works best for their users. So this is something that we're not actually that unfamiliar with, and that applies to us really easily. I think, though, that we have a few things that we need to work on, and my practicum helped me understand this better so I can apply it to my professional practice. The first is that we're not our users. We'll never be our users. We have a level of understanding of the academic library that our users do not have. We also sometimes don't have a great understanding of the complete user journey. So I found that while we're doing this work, we aren't doing it in a holistic way that's putting all of these pieces together. So just to kind of illustrate what I mean, I'm taking an image from Aaron Schmidt, who does a lot of work with user experience in libraries. And he presented this at the Selfin User Experience Conference last fall. And here he's mapping out touch points for when folks try to do one activity within the library. So here he's actually showing what a patron has to go through in order to just request a book and come pick it up. and he's got like over 10 or 15 steps here. And I've cut off some of it, but if you'll notice, in the first 5 steps, the patron hasn't interacted with one staff member. And I think this is something that we need to continue to work on understanding, is that our presence goes beyond our physical presence and is often there, is often illustrated in space, the spaces that our library has, and also often illustrated in our web presence and our presence online. Additionally, I'm also borrowing this image from the Southern Conference. We sometimes stay within the building blocks of UX. So we go, we kind of do this understand users part, but we don't go past that. So, you know, maybe we might use personas or focus groups. And again, Chris was bringing out some really interesting things that ethnography can bring that focus groups won't, or that surveys won't. But we don't go beyond that. And so some ideas that I've sort of generated for taking the next step of user experience in the academic library is sharing ideas with other libraries, seeing what they're doing well, and trying to replicate that and communicate with each other about it. Doing in-depth content analyses for our websites and web presence so that users are able to navigate the information we're trying to give them. And finally, the biggest thing that I realized through my practicum is that we have to evaluate what we do. There's no way we can improve on something if we don't know whether or not it's successful. So thinking of assessment as a thread through any activity that we start. And so this is my contact information, and also just really quickly, this talk is actually came from a blog post that I did. I'm a regular blogger on the ACRL log, so if you're interested, please check out that blog post. And I actually also have some resources here that I'll pass around because I think I'm the last speaker. So in this section, yeah. Thank you.